week was Valentine's Day. I would give you my heart, but. I would give you my heart, but it is a bloody thing, and misshapen from the idealized form by left ventricular hypertrophy, and the usual asymmetry of sprouting veins and arteries, of which some, on close examination, would show fatty streaks of white against the proper red, developing atherosclerosis, gifted by my love of ice cream. Would you take a ring instead? Round, symmetric, never tarnishing, plugged only by your finger. So further in keeping with Valentine's Day, the rest of these are about my wife. We've been married over 40 years. The first one was written, just the first one was written before we were married. We had a number of periods apart. In fact, I was on a co-op job in New York City, and she was abroad for the year in France. Apart. We are together, though apart, 1,000 miles bridged by quiet thought, each in our separate rooms, our separate selves, remembering cities held in common. The first glance of choice, concealed in a crowd. A folk dance, the first walk toward dawn. The first kiss on the old stone steps. The first tears of parting, and the next. And after each long absence, a return in the joy of refinding and being found. The lump. For your birthday, you got a lump. Well, it had been there for a while in your right breast, but you got the report. 99% chance it's okay, but there is that niggling 1%. You've been there before. You don't want to be Swiss cheese. It's probably all right, but this time there are some inconsistencies. So there should be more tests and more talk, and I'm sure more worry. You sat calmly on our bed and relayed the information, and we went to sleep. I will hold you whenever you want, and then some. After 37 years. After 37 years, we still walk hand in hand on Boston streets, or sometimes Cape Cod sand. After 37 years, my heart still gives a leap at your flashing eyes, or quiet face in sleep. After 37 years, the days somehow amiss, if not completed with a goodnight kiss. After 37 years, and 2 children grown, I know my best friend's wedding was our own. But we are still working out a few things. Snore. Nighttime vocals, low and rumbling, half a snort and half a steam train, penetrate her ears despite the plugs, and toss her from the shore of sleep. She struggles vainly once again to reach, so she tries tugging lightly on the sheet. It's not enough to move or quiet me. She contemplates a harder pull, a desperate and not so loving pat upon the shoulder. But miraculously, there is a lull, a welcome respite to send her back to slumber. Then sometime later, I myself am wakened by a sweet song, her gentle whistle, rising, falling, with her half the sheet. And so I lie and think, if only we could sing duets, unheard in sleep. Another bedtime poem. Middle ground. This morning when my wife crept softly out of bed and tiptoed carefully down the hall to go to early Reiki or the gym, she left my lumpiness in half-feigned sleep. I hid there from the coming day's demands and felt a rush of sybaritic joy to test the freedom of expanded space and moved into the middle of the bed. Like Leonardo's man I lay, with limbs outstretched, encountering no barrier or even reprimand. How different was this from the nighttime norm of kiss goodnight and roll ourselves apart, to hug opposing edges of the bed, avoiding inadvertent touch till dawn. I tired at last of lazy solitude and rose to wait for her with some regret that I had not awakened more constrained, but with her lying there beside me still. For though the middle is respected as a boundary when we sleep, it sometimes is a joyous place for us to meet. Just the outside. I have seen your body change from late teenage girl to young woman, all the stages of your pregnancies and years of motherhood, through menopause, and now the slow silvering of the hair. I have loved it all, for this is the house in which you dwell. Last, a good walk. 2 paths ran through the woods, over hills and alongside streams, crossed, diverged, and crossed again, and finally met and merged. And we 2 walkers in the woods, once on separate paths, having kissed and walked away, and kissed again, now walk hand in hand, steadying each other's stumbles, and knowing there were other paths, we look into each other's eyes and smile.